Welcome back to 7 Seconds or More, episode 13. Hopefully it's not an unlucky 13. We almost lined it up. It's Tuesday, June 14th when we're recording this. Almost had it lined up 13 and 14, not quite.
Shoot. Shoulda, coulda, woulda,
It
huh?
just didn't work out. But a lot to cover because after last episode, the series was tied 1-1. Now, it's going to sound like we're just going to be reacting to last game. Going to try to talk a little bit about what happened in games 3 and 4 in Boston, in which the Celtics and Warriors split those games. But to sort of catch everyone up, in case you haven't been following, game 3 in Boston had their foot on the pedal, basically led wire to wire, save for, I believe it was at 83-82. The Warriors took a lead as well as 2-0. I believe those were the only Warriors leads of the game. Game 4 in Boston as well. Stephen Curry went superhuman.
Devastating.
I believe he had around 43 points, if around that number, if I'm correct.
Yeah, low 40s for sure.
Yeah.
It was
shot the lights out.
ungodly.
And then game 5, he broke his long active streak of getting a 3 in each game. He didn't score a single 3.
30-game playoff streak of multiple threes in a game.
Since like 2017 that he didn't score a 3 or something
Uncanny.
like that. Yeah.
Every time, and I've still got the Steph Curry 3 trauma from watching him all series now, as when Mike Breen's like, Steph Curry for 3, and I'm like, oh God, it's going in. It's going to be the backbreaker. And then each time I thought, I'm like, oh geez, here it comes. And it didn't happen.
However, regardless of the drought, the Banes went to the Wiggins, and the Warriors were able to win game 5 regardless.
Yeah, you're on the money there.
Oh man.
So sort of the damning numbers if you're a Celtics fan here. So basically, if I could sum it up in how to lose a game in 3 stats or less, I have it here. Boston, 10 missed free throws, 18 turnovers, and 2 technical fouls. Some very inexcusable stuff. Now, I do want to preface this because I know I said this the other day to our friend of the show, Sean, that either we are the most biased NBA pod or the least biased Celtics pod. So you can make your call there.
Take that as you will.
But I do want to give credit where credit's due to the Warriors because, again, like I've been saying, a lot of the conversation in Boston has been that the only team better than Boston is themselves and the way they shoot themselves in the foot, either by sloppy turnovers or carelessness or stagnant offense. But I think the Warriors have done an incredible job in speeding Boston up and not letting them get to their pace and disrupting their flow. I don't have the exact stats in front of me, but the games with the slower pace have all been won by Boston, and the games with a faster pace have been won by Golden State. It doesn't surprise me when you think about it, because if there's a faster game, that means more transition offense. Golden State's lethal in transition, and when they're lethal in transition, that means Boston's missing shots. If it's a slower game, Boston is making their shots, and that means they can get back in a half-court defense where the Golden State offense is a lot less effective.
I was just about to say, that makes total sense, because say what you will about Golden State, but the Boston defense has been doing good job in the half court, preventing them from getting a lot of their points. But my God, and then credit to Golden State for getting those transition buckets, because what that means is they're playing great defense too. And people forget, they talk about the Celtics defense all the time being best defense in the league, and Golden State was number 2. They're fabulous. They made opponents, I believe, I read a stat, forced 13 or 14 turnovers a game on for some stretch, maybe on the year. I forget what it is. Not gonna know you're the stats guy, but it was when Boston's at 18 a game in the playoffs now, or something like that. And Golden State's been making these turnovers happen. It's only 4 more careless turnovers, if you want to say it's Boston beating themselves, which, as if I don my green tinted glasses, I would be saying, but. Oh, man.
Yeah. One thing I found very interesting in the past couple games is just the way they're playing Jayson Tatum and the way Jayson Tatum's reacting. Because if you remember in last night's game, the Celtics had 8 threes in a row at some point, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The difference then was when Jayson got double teamed, instead of turning it over, he passed to wide open Marcus, wide open Al. And then, okay, the Warriors caught on. They stopped double teaming him. Too much space for Jayson, and he'd get the three. And then all of a sudden, like Tatum, he's being selfish because all those missed shots. It's not like extremely selfish, but it's a little selfish because he's trying to get himself going instead of keep on doing what's working. Because when he gets doubled, that's when he's been getting frustrated and having those uncharacteristic turnovers, which is hiking up, getting to the 18 turnovers there. So I'd be interested to see if he continues just like, when I get doubled, right away to the open guy until I stop getting doubled and then doing it again, because that did work for them last night.
I think it's interesting if we want to get into the Jayson Tatum psychoanalysis here, right? I feel like so much of it is he's done a great job all series of passing out of double teams, especially when the shot's not falling, you know? So I feel like it's not a question of selfishness, but if they're letting him take an open shot, like, he's going to take that shot, you know?
But the thing is he should pass out every time, and he doesn't.
I think
because
his problem...
it beats them every time.
Mm-hmm. True. Well, I don't know about every time, though, because for 3 quarters, Celtics shooting was cold as ice, you know? It was the difference between the first half and the third quarter was that Marcus and Al were making those shots, you know? Boston missed their first 23-point field goals last night. It was ungodly stat. And I think if we want to get into the Jayson Tatum issue, I feel like he wants that superstar whistle and that superstar treatment. And we see it when I've seen it all year where he gets the foul calls when he's driving the hoop and it goes in, it doesn't go in. If it doesn't go in, he gets the whistle. He's like, yeah, I'm that dude. He's locked in. He's ready to rock and roll. Doesn't get the whistle. If it doesn't go in, if he doesn't feel like once the refs start getting in his head, he starts playing like this. We see the hide to his regular All-NBA Jekyll. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting. I remember Peter and I back in January when we went to the Hornets Celtics game, December or January.
Remember you telling me about that?
Wednesday night? But go on.
Well, that was when Tatum had a pretty good night, but you could see when he didn't get the calls his way how it bothered him. And sometimes that fuels him to be better, but sometimes it just doesn't fuel him at all. And I'd be interested to see how he can take the abuse and turn it into motivation instead of complaints. Even when some of those complaints are very valid because they're horrible calls sometimes, you can't do anything about it. You got to move on.
And I think and things like this are exactly why you hear that green teamer, the only team better than the Celtics is the Celtics, right? Is because if they can figure this stuff out, this mental side, this just getting yourselves mentally right. If Tatum shows up and he's his All-NBA Tatum, Boston wins this series. Last game, just Tatum something's not right. I thought it was the shoulder, but I think it's this exact issue, Duncan, like you're saying, where it's the refs are in his head. He doesn't feel like he's that dude, and it's just things just aren't working out for him because he's just not right. He's unable to take this whatever mental pressure is going on right now.
Yeah. And I am excited, however, to see Jayson Tatum in the elimination games.
Me too.
I've got these stats up for you. In the first 2 elimination games against Milwaukee, he scored 46 points, then 23, and then against the Heat, 26. But throughout that, he had 9 rebounds, 6 rebounds, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 8 assists, 6 assists. And from 3, he shot 47, 56, and 57% in those 3 games. So I think an elimination game, that pressure is an added driving force for Tatum, and I'm interested to see how that pans out in games 6 and 7.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you because I love Jayson Tatum. If that isn't abundantly clear after 13 episodes of Baker's Dozen of a podcast, and I think when he's on, he looks like the best player in the world. So I'm right there with you. It should be an interesting game 6.
To a point that you were saying a lot earlier about the sort of ebbs and flows of the 3-point success for the Celtics. They missed the first 12 3-pointers. That was a finals record for most consecutive 3-pointers missed in a game. Then they made 8 in a row, which is also a finals record for most consecutive threes made in a finals game. So they really...
This team is bipolar. Oh my God.
It always returns to the mean.
It was funny what you
That's
were, what
wild.
both of you were saying about Tatum, though. I thought Tatum was their best player on the floor last night, really without any question. And what he was doing in terms of playmaking was a return to the form after
Mm-hmm.
game 4. Ime Udoka said a lot that the team was hunting for fouls and trying to play through the refs and sort of not playing to their game.
Mm-hmm.
Really, if there's someone who I would point to as being disappointing last night, it would be Jaylen Brown. It's been very evident throughout the last couple games that the Warriors have seen the scouting report and they know that Jaylen Brown likes to drive right. It's very clear. Klay Thompson now is also shuffling his feet a lot better. He's the Klay Thompson, the two-way that we haven't seen for a while. In the first couple of games, it looked like he couldn't get past anyone on any drives, which he still can't to a degree. But on defense, he's much improved. And Brown has been attacking Draymond Green as well, who has been fantastic. So honestly, what I think the Celtics need to do is Jaylen Brown needs to be more decisive and know what he wants to do with the ball. Oftentimes he gets downhill
Mm-hmm.
and he leaves his feet and then he gets stuck and tries to dish it out. So
and that's when we've seen a lot of turnovers from Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
yes, he
Yeah.
needs to take a page out of the Jayson Tatum book in terms of decisiveness and precision with
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
dealing with double teams and when you get downhill and have no real possible route to the basket.
Yeah.
I agree.
So,
And
kind of talking about those turnovers, we're going to have a little trivia segment today where Peter and Garrett are going to butt heads, go against each other, and try to take home the first trivia dub. But what team in the regular season this year had the most turnovers in a win? You get 1 point for the correct team and 1 point for whoever's closest to the amount of turnovers. So, yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to go back and forth with who answers the questions first. So, Peter, you can answer what team first, and Garrett, you can answer how many turnovers first.
Okay.
I'm gonna go. This is due to the way they play, and sort of they're on the mind at the moment. But I'm going with the Golden State Warriors for the team.
Okay, Garrett, what's your team?
I thought you wanted me to number turnovers. I think team. I'm thinking like high-powered offense. I'm thinking lots of like ball move. I don't know why like Trae Young is on the mind for me right now. I'm going the Hawks because I feel like there's a little bit of ball security issues there. Yet at the same time, a prodigious offense.
The turnover triple double. It's triple double. Okay.
Exactly.
All right, Garrett. So now you get to answer first. How many turnovers did you think it was?
I'm going with like.
Okay, wait, actually, before you say that, I'll give you the answer for the team.
Oh.
So the team was the Denver Nuggets.
Oh.
Yeah, versus the Pistons on January 25th. All right, so now with that in mind, Garrett, how many turnovers?
Now, numbers a little bit different because I know my Celtics have been turning the ball over like it's their job this year, and it's gotten pretty bad. I'm thinking the first half of the season. Then again, not in a win. I'm going I want to say 24.
Okay.
24 turnovers.
All right, Peter, what's your number?
So 24 was the number in my head, and I was going to say it before, but I do not want to have the same number as Garrett, so I'm going to go 25.
Oh, I thought you were about to Price is Right me there for a second.
Well, the correct answer is 25. You're both right on the money with that.
Oh my God.
Point right now scores Peter 1, Garrett 0. We'll come back to trivia in a later segment.
Thank you, Garrett, for taking my number.
Oh my God.
But yeah, 25 turnovers in a win. Whew.
Man, here I'm thinking if I'm ever gonna get a trivia against Pete, it's like random freaking numbers question. Hey, bravo.
That was a gift from
on the freaking money.
Yeah, I think next time for a question like that, like a team, we might go back and forth until someone gets the team. There's a lot of teams.
Good. Yeah. I like that.
Would have been towards the end of my list.
Yeah.
Me too. That could have easily been a 2-minute segment. Well, thank you, Duncan.
Yeah, no problem.
As always, fabulous trivia.
What has also been fabulous has been the coaching battle here in this final. Now, flawless transition. Nice. But one thing that was very clear in the first couple games, I would say games 1 through 3, is that Ime Udoka was out coaching Steve Kerr. Kerr at times said that they were plugging holes to plug holes in terms of rotations. Oftentimes, this is from Zach Lowe, that there were minutes, or there were rather lineups he put out on the floor of combinations of players that hadn't had any minutes together in the regular season. You usually don't see teams do that. Sometimes you see at the end of games, you see these weird lineups, and that's usually because it's a blowout and a coach is putting out a lineup to see if there's anything there, if that combination of players is conducive to winning, or he thinks there's something there. So he was trying out some of these lineups. Granted, there were not barely any lineups that had Curry, Clay, and Draymond because of their health. And then so a real random combination of players between Looney, Gary Payton, Otto Porter, Jordan Poole. And Udoka was really,
they've been working.
He was in the first couple games, he's pushing the right buttons at the right times, finding the right combinations of big and small lineups that exploited the Warriors. For example, at the end of game 1, he went with a more shooting-based lineup with Grant Williams and Derek White playing well. And then in game 3, he went with a lot of size and physicality. Robert Williams played well in that game. Grant Williams, again, was also critical on the offensive and defensive glass. But since then, Steve Kerr has found a lot of lineups that perform well without Curry in the game, letting him get some rest. And if I'm the Celtics, I need to win the non-Curry minutes. And he's gotten a lot of energy and production out of guys like Jordan Poole, Gary Payton, Otto Porter Jr. in their roles, and in a sense led to Ime Udoka sort of losing faith in some of his role players. Payton Pritchard, inconsistent minutes, and the threes he has shot have been off, which is not something we've been able to say.
Uncharacteristic.
Yeah, certainly not through the playoffs. He's been usually money when he's been in the game. Derek White has lost his trust on defense. Andrew Wiggins, who we will get to later, is doing whatever you want with White in the post. And Grant Williams has sort of gotten caught up in the antics, and it seems at times that the stage is too big for him. And so this is,
even with all of his theatrics.
Very much so. He's a very theatrical player, but I don't know if he can play on the stage. But this has really led to Udoka tightening an already tight rotation, and there's been stretches where there have been lineups that have been productive, and due to how long he's had to stay with them, they've gotten tired. For an example, last night he started the third quarter with the regular starting 5. They went on that run in which they hit the 8 straight threes, and he kept that lineup in there for really the most of the third quarter, and the Warriors managed to claw back at the end because he was running Tatum and Brown out the whole second half. So the thing I have...
And you could see how tired they played, too.
Exactly.
It was like Tatum missing 2 free throws in a row.
He did that twice.
It made me want to gouge my eyes out, dude.
One thing from Jordan said in The Last Dance is, in his finals thing against Utah, his last finals, is when you're tired, you miss your shots, they're short. And Tatum had a lot of front rims. And that's just, you're tired. You don't have it in you to give the extra little oomph to get it into the basket. And that was happening a lot for Tatum in the
And you know what it reminds me of? It gives me all the props to Jimmy Butler for playing every minute of that Game 7. Like, how the heck do you do that? Tatum is our age, and he can't hang like that. Jimmy Butler has been in the league for so long, and to play every minute of a elimination game and look that good, bonkers.
Yeah. The way we go about Jimmy Butler, he may not be a top 10 player, but there are not 10 other players that can drag their team to the conference finals like Jimmy
Butler. The top 10 player thing, we've gone over it very, really, I'd probably stretch it to 12, or you could put it in tiers. It's very tough to do like an exact 10. But anyways, certainly with what Butler has done, he's found a way to shoulder the load. I think Tatum and Brown look fatigued. So some interesting stats just about that fatigue to put in context on the burden these guys have had to carry. So Tatum has played nearly 200 more playoff minutes than the next non-Celtic player. So that'd be around, 40 minutes a game. You could say 5 more games.
Wow.
This is off the record trivia, not in the point system, but just for both of you, Duncan can go first. The highest playoff minutes this playoff run this year as a non-Celtic.
A non-Celtic. I almost want to go Jimmy Butler.
I was going to say Jimmy.
Yeah, but just with there's been 5 more games. I feel like I'm just going to go who I'm assuming has the most minutes for Golden State between Steph and Wig. I'll go Steph.
It'd be Jimmy or Steph for me too, Duncan. I'm right there with you, so I'll go Jimmy then.
So it is a Warrior because of the 5 more games, but it's actually Klay Thompson.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think Klay.
You did leave him in a lot for that Game 3 blowout where he couldn't buy a bucket.
He got a couple minutes there, and I think his value as a two-way guy, you can play him in any lineup. So I think there's a lot of value there. But just rounding out these sort of stats on Tatum, he is currently at 17th all-time for most minutes in a single playoff run, which is kind of a crazy stat.
Wow.
And if the series went 7 games, so provided that would mean the Celtics would win on Thursday in Boston, and he played 40 minutes a game for Games 6 and 7, he would be in the top 7 for most minutes played in a single playoff run.
Wow.
And if he played around 45 minutes a game, which is a lot, but you would think if they win, he would have to really play a lot of minutes. He would be in the top 3 for all minutes, for most minutes all time in a single playoff run. So this just sort of puts in context the what he's had to do. And I think a little bit of this is on Ime Udoka. He, as a rookie coach, he hasn't been in this stage, not as an assistant either. Well, maybe he did in San Antonio, but it's a whole different ballgame, managing minutes and rotations on the fly. And certainly, even if you've been in this spot, Kerr struggled at times. Kerr also was in a similar position early in his career. So I just was wondering what both of your thoughts were on sort of the heavy minutes both of them are playing, and if that's affected their performance.
I think they need to be playing those heavy minutes. I mean, especially when Grant isn't playing as his strongest. The strongest part of his game yesterday was his mouth. He wasn't proving anything with any of his basketball skills. He was complaining. There was that one shot where Ime was just yelling at him to stop complaining, start playing again. Or it's what I'm assuming. Couldn't really read the books there, but yeah, I think at some point you have to trust the other players. When the other players aren't doing it, you trust the guys that can get it done, which are usually Jaylen and Jayson. So they're tired. Maybe there's got to be some other way in the third quarter. But then again, they were hot in the third quarter. How are you going to take them out when they're hot? So it's tough.
Yeah. Because the last thing you want to do is take out a shooter that's of the caliber of Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum when they're super hot. We saw it in, I think, another Celtic loss where Jaylen was cooking in the first quarter, got 2 quick fouls, was yanked, and then couldn't buy a buck the rest of the game. But a lot of the Celtics offense has been and needs to come from the Jays, So I don't know how you can really give them rest, but my God, after 2 Game 7 series, it makes me think of what if the Celtics lost a game in the Nets series? How gassed would they be for this finals run? That improbable sweep has really probably saved a lot of headaches for the Celtics this playoff run. But after 18 games before the finals, it's understandably gassed, But I don't see how you really can curb the Tatum and Brown minutes, especially when so much the Celtics offense, which is really floundering in this final series, is coming from them.
Yeah.
I think you need to find other roles for Grant Williams. We saw him on defense. It worked. He can stop Giannis. Obviously much different assignment than the guard heavy Golden State, but. Oh man, I think all it takes is a little more trust in the bench guys at a Game 6 home court. They hit shots, all of a sudden this looks like a very different series for Boston. If Tatum and Brown can get a little bit of rest, maybe play only 42 instead of 45 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh man,
gives the other players a chance to get going. And Peter, I wonder what you think about this, but there's a couple times where the Warriors were going pretty small, where the Draymond was their biggest player, and then they'd have like, I feel like 3 guards in and then almost Wiggins at the 4 or something like that. Well, maybe not 3 guards. Porter's kind of a smaller forward, right? But he, what do you think of the Celtics like responding to that with like their biggest lineup, like putting in Rob and Al and really just trying to dominate the paint and trying to do their best on defense with the shooting?
I don't think it's a coincidence that those lineups played well in games 1 and 3, but a lot of it depends on how the minutes are being managed. Of Al and Rob are the two I'm really thinking of here, because Al is not being viewed as someone to even take note of on defense like he has in other series. They're attacking him in the pick and roll. Didn't happen as much in this past game, game 5, but they're willing to get past Al and bring him to the perimeter. Same thing with Rob. His knee looked better in this past game, but it is still something to monitor. So I think it's beneficial to have size. I think they might move away from that lineup and put Grant in as long as he is not in foul trouble, not sort of playing dumb, because Grant has provided them a lot of value in crashing the boards, and he was playing.
He's been cleaning up the glass.
Was playing good defense yesterday and switches on Steph Curry. He had the block from behind, and he also had a very good contest of, I believe it was Steph or Clay, but he put his ankle in the 90-degree split, so that prevented his ability to recover on that play. But I think going with more size is beneficial to them, especially because I believe there was a lineup. I don't know who was the de facto big. I don't know if it was Wiggins or Draymond, but they did have a lineup where they had Curry, Poole, Peyton, and Clay. So you have 4 guards in the game. So I think Grant brings a lot of value there in terms of defensive versatility while still having the size. But a lot of it depends on, I think there's a lot of feel factor for Udoka, how well they're playing and competing out there.
That makes sense. And Pete, if I can add on, I think so much of this series that has really kind of been a question mark for me has been, why isn't Boston playing the paint game? Like, I feel like we haven't, and coming into this series, for me, I was expecting a lot less resistance in the paint than what Golden State's been throwing at us. And they've been doing great. Like, Looney's not to be trifled with, but he's not Brook Lopez and Giannis, he's not like Bam Adebayo and the Heat. Like, this is the most wide open I feel like the paint has been for this season in a while, but they haven't found ways to play their game and execute and get those easy baskets that have made them such a deadly offense, I feel like I haven't seen a Rob lob in forever, mostly because it's probably not playoff viable, but it's so much of the Celtics offense, so much of the success of their offense has come from being in attacking the paint. And I think it's a lot of it is Jayson Tatum's shooting slump in the paint as well. Like, he's struggling at finishing the basket. The stat that's going around everywhere is, his finishing percentage in the paint is worse than Curry's 3-point percentage or some wacky stat like that.
At the same time, Tatum's taken those high degree difficulty.
One
thing I'd be interested in is
every time.
I know he's tired a lot, but sometimes when he's not bringing the ball up, you see him walking up court, and I know you're tired, but it's the NBA Finals. I'd like to see him move more off the ball and get because then that works the defense more too, and that's less work you have to do when you're on defense, because Wiggins is more tired running around all the time instead of being able to just drive down. I'd be interested to see him play almost how Jaylen Brown plays sometimes, of getting off those screens and getting those open threes and those cuts. So maybe make them double team you off the ball too, could give more relieve some pressure.
Definitely.
But going back to some of the trivia, we were talking about Ime and the rookie coaches. So if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna get into this next round. Right now, Peter's up 1-0. Just a little warm up there, but we got some opportunities for more coaches here.
Okay.
And we'll go Garrett first because Peter's in the lead. But have any other rookie coaches won the NBA Finals? You get 1 point for correct answer, and then we'll go back and forth, and a point for each correct answer. So, can you name a rookie coach who won the Finals, Garrett?
I think most recently Nick Nurse, right?
Nick Nurse, correct? Yeah. So it's 1 point for Garrett. Nick Nurse won in 2019.
Hey.
with
Wait
the
a
Raptors.
second. He shouldn't be allowed. You shouldn't be able to confirm it. I was going to say Nick Nurse. I want that point. I'm not.
That's my.
I'm not going to take the point away from you. I'm saying.
I need that point, Pete. Please, you're a basketball genius.
I was gonna go. Once you get them, they're off the table. But
okay,
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that? All right. So that was one for Garrett. We're tied at one apiece. Peter.
Steve Kerr.
What do you have? Steve Kerr. Yeah.
That was my next one.
Yeah. I think those are the two maybe easiest ones that you could get in mind. But all right. So 2-1. Garrett, you got anyone else?
Was Ty Lue a rookie in 2016 when the Cavs won?
Yes, he was. He took over mid-season.
Let's go.
And won the NBA Finals. So
right.
That was my next pick. Thank you.
We're tied at 2-2, I believe. And with that, I mean, if you guys get these next ones, I will be very impressed.
Is it Frank Vogel?
Nope.
Okay.
Oh, he was gonna be my next guess too.
Yeah, I mean the last two.
I have another guess, by the way, but Garrett, if you have one.
All right, Garrett.
Oh, geez. I'm trying to go back in my little mental history of the NBA, right? And I remember my dad complaining about the Lakers back in the day, and his dad complaining about the Lakers back in the day. Pat Riley wasn't a rookie, was he?
He was a rookie. Yeah.
No kidding?
Yeah. He was a rookie.
Dude.
And back in 81-82, Magic Johnson got the former coach fired, and Pat Riley took over, and they won.
No
Talking
kidding.
about left field answers, man. You're pulling out dads.
Hey, Peter, for the last one.
My dad talks about Bird all the time, and obviously talks about Magic Johnson all the time. They go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The coach that got fired, he also, that previous Lakers coach, Peter, we'll give you the last shot, and then we'll move on. But
that counts.
He also won as a rookie.
Is this the last person?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna guess Casey Jones of the Celtics, but I guess he didn't win it in his first year. So the previous Lakers coach before Pat Riley, I have no idea. I literally have zero clue.
All right. Well, it is Paul Westhead.
Oh, Paul Westhead.
Beats me.
Everyone knows Paul. So... Let's not beat around the bush here. We can just move on.
All right. I'm bad at counting. Is it 3-2 Garrett right now?
Is it?
Well, so he got Nurse, Lou,
I got
and
Nurse,
Riley.
Ty Lue, and
yeah.
And then
Garrett's up 3-2. So because you got Kerr.
Because I got Kerr, and then I had the Vogel guess.
Yeah. All right. Well, after our next segment, we'll go into our final round and find our winner.
Well, I feel bad now. But
Pete, bro, you're gonna beat me. It is inevitable.
I know the little foreshadowing.
I'm going off anecdote. I'm going off of very limited experience.
That's
here.
Fair point. If we'd been tallying the previous episodes, I think I'd be.
It's no contest.
In the lead.
No contest.
Yeah, but we're actually going to take a quick break before we talk about the main man of the hour, Andrew Wiggins. So we will get going with that right after this. Coming back from the break, we have to talk about Andrew Wiggins. Much is being made out of his coming out party. There's multiple games. It was really evidenced by last night's Game 5 performance, which he had, I believe, 26 points, around 14 rebounds. But just great stuff on both ends of the court. Tyrese Halliburton himself said that he thought Andrew Wiggins has been the best player that's defended Jayson Tatum throughout the playoffs. Bit of a hot take at the time because of what Drew Holiday has done or Jimmy Butler. But I think he's proved it. Just to sort of recap the journey of Andrew Wiggins, if you watch the game, they sort of did a little bit about that. But this is a little more context-based. So Andrew Wiggins was he was the number 1 pick out of Kansas in the same draft as Joel Embiid, as well as Kristaps Porzingis, I believe Porzingis, and Jabari Parker. Wiggins was teammates with Joel Embiid in college at Kansas, but Wiggins went number 1. Embiid had foot issues. There were a lot of speculation that Embiid was the best player and he would have gone number 1 if his foot didn't have those issues. Although Embiid essentially lost about 2 seasons due to that foot having issues. So, but Wiggins, he put up big numbers when he was in Minnesota. High volume scoring, really no efficiency though. He still won Rookie of the Year, but the team didn't win many games, even with Karl Anthony Towns, the two of them being their core. In 2020, he was traded for D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell was signed and traded from the Brooklyn Nets to the Warriors in the Kevin Durant signing to the Nets. The Warriors did that because
and a first. They got Wiggins and a first.
They got a protected first that turned into Jonathan Kuminga. And so Minnesota kind of got tired of Wiggins. They couldn't really win with him. He's making a lot of money. They wanted a different second guy next to Cat. They were having a bit of a point guard crisis over a couple of years. They had Jeff Teague. They had Ricky Rubio. They couldn't figure that out.
Celtics legend Jeff Teague.
NBA champion Jeff Teague.
NBA champion Jeff. There it is.
Russell's also friends with Cat, so made like a good fit there. Wiggins was sort of overlooked. I found this sort of interesting. He's been sort of overlooked in a league where athletic two-way wings are as valuable as ever and they're at a premium, but he was very dismissed as someone who was either a one-dimensional scorer or who couldn't improve, even though he is like 26 or something, or 28 the oldest. He's a young guy still. This sort of evidenced by how special Boston has it with both Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum as two-way wings. Brian Windhorst was talking about this after the game last night. He thought that it was a checkbook win for the Warriors. I thought it was a bit overblown, but that the Warriors willing to pay deep into the luxury tax has been beneficial for them. Say 4 max guys in Curry, Clay, Draymond, and Wiggins, and they've recently spoken. This was GM Bob Myers talking sort of on behalf of Commissioner Joe Lacob.
Governor.
Oh my God. Yeah, not commissioner. Yeah, Adam Silver. Team governor Joe Lacob. Oh my gosh. That they are going to lock up Jordan Poole. So it's really been an amazing. What am I doing? An amazing resurgence by Wiggins in fitting and adapting into this role. He's sort of an ultimate energy guy, and he is kind of seemingly unguardable at times. Just based off the two of you, what do you think is the best thing that he's brought to the floor? Has it been the crashing the glass? Has it been his work in the post and the paint? Has it been his finishing ability? I'm just curious what two of you think about that.
Yeah, there's times where Andrew Wiggins looks like the best player on the court in this series. Like, and that's with Steph popping off through 4 games. You know, like, he's looked insane, and I think it's the combination of everything you just said between the post, the finishing, and what I think is his real X factor is the motor and athleticism to do all of that. Like, he's a rubber band man. He can move, he can jump, he can fly, he can do whatever you need him to do. It's crazy. And like you said, the ultimate energy guy, you give ultimate energy guy and then you give him the bounce that Andrew Wiggins has, it's holy smokes.
Yeah. To kind of mirror what you're saying there, Gary, I think it's the athleticism and the mental and physical endurance that he has, because the entire game he's making Jayson Tatum uncomfortable, and that's kind of like that's been a huge factor for him. And he doesn't have 40-point games. Yeah, he has 16 rebounds, but like it's
16 rebounds, man.
But at the same time,
a lot of boards.
I think a lot of those boards, like some of those boards were great contested boards that he got, but a lot of the boards were, the Warriors were playing all guards and Wiggins pretty much. Like, he's the biggest guy on the court. He's going to get a lot of boards.
True.
But regardless of that fact, he was a presence on both sides because he's mentally committed the entire time to play his best basketball. Something that we've seen like on the Celtics side, like there's been some frustration, which leads to like, walking up the court and like getting into the sets late and not taking the best shots because you're frustrated. And Wiggins, there's a very important stat too. He's got that dog in him. And there's just
dog status through the roof.
He's got that 99. Dog in him. And yeah, he's doing that on both sides.
I think a lot of it too is, in combination with that 99 dog, right, is despite the pedigree, number one pick, high usage in Minnesota, bounced around the league, but like he's on a team with, like you said, Pete, 4 max guys, or 3 other max guys. He's got the ability to move around a lot more unfettered than he ever has, and it's clearly paying dividends, especially if you're Bob Myers, or what is it, Team Governor Lacombe? Like, oh my goodness, I feel like he's thriving in this role because most people had him pegged for a superstar. Because remember coming out of college, he was pegged as the next LeBron, right? Like he was going to be the next big thing.
Maple Jordan,
and
Maple Jordan.
Maple Jordan, And so I feel like when he doesn't have to be Maple Jordan and he can just be that fourth max, that other star in this role, obviously he's going to knock heads and make waves and make a splash.
No, I'm really glad you mentioned that, Garrett, in terms of the help that he has had, because it is a unique circumstance for Boston to guard this playoffs, and they've played really every type of elite wing. Start off against Brooklyn, Kevin Durant. They knew the scouting report. I mean, they played them 4 times in the regular season, and they played them in the playoffs last year. They knew Durant couldn't blow by them. They didn't let him settle into his jumpers, and they were able to swipe the ball on the way up, and then they took away a lot of the passing lanes as well. And then round 2 against the Milwaukee Bucks, again, a team that they usually play like 4 times a year. Golden State, you play like 2 times, so less exposure. Or Minnesota, you play 2 times a year. In terms of Giannis, they really wore him down game after game. That helps with Giannis's extremely high usage and his lack of help around him. And they were also willing to let Giannis shoot, which was he not a great 3-point shooter, but Giannis sort of settles into it at times.
Oh my goodness! I still get trauma when he makes those threes. I was like,
when he makes them, you're like, why are we playing?
It's like, what's going on? Like, stop the count. It's oh god, those are devastating. Please continue, Pete.
No worries. Moving on to the conference finals, Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat, a real old school type of player, a lot more finesse and precision, and knows what he wants to do with the ball. But he was also hampered by a lack of help, and he also looked worn down game after game. And, as we were talking about earlier, evidenced by his 48-minute performance in Game 7, just couldn't quite.
Also a high dog stat, Jimmy Butler.
He's got 125 dog.
Oh yeah.
The league.
He breaks the scale.
And so, Wiggins is the last of this line. Granted, I would not put him in the Kevin Durant, Giannis, Jimmy Butler conversation, but Wiggins has a lot of benefit by not having the same attention on him. He doesn't really help in terms of shooting the ball. Sometimes he gets wide open looks that he misses, but what you can say is that he has the most help out of anyone else. Because when you have Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole helping to space for you, you can't really help on him. And he also just has a ton of energy because he doesn't need to be the guy on every possession, offensive or defensive, even if he's performed great on Jayson Tatum.
Yeah.
And, somehow he just has these like hook shots to finish over everyone. I don't know where that came from.
Oh my God. I was going to say like some of those hook shots.
He's like,
knock your socks off, man.
I'm gonna shoot it now, and then it just goes in. And you're like, what?
And it's like always this like most low angle shot that goes off the glass, gets to spin. It's like, how? Why are these going in? Just mechanically, they don't make sense, but they go down.
Yeah, I mean he's got that dog in him. But something you were saying earlier, Peter, with like the team owners or governors or whatever across multiple sports
Front office.
being able to kind of buy their way. It's something we're seeing in the NFL now that we can talk about more in another episode that Pat McAfee talks about a lot, is that owners with a lot of like liquid just money that are willing to pay for it, like the Rams owner, they can skirt around the cap and just give
Buy
players
themselves a team.
roster bonuses in certain ways that don't count towards the cap and buy themselves a team. Exactly. Same with kind of the luxury tax in the NBA, is that some owners, they're willing to buy a championship, and it's interesting how that works and whether that should work that way. Maybe it's a big conversation for another day, and maybe we get like a I don't know a sports
Yeah, and
economist
it's
on
an
the
interesting
show.
conversation too, Duncan, because what as a card carrying green teamer over here, it gets me excited to think about like, okay, now that the Celtics have got over the hump of the ECF and made the finals, when does Wick start opening up his pocketbook and start paying for a team? Because they're here now, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're like under the cap, right? They're if not, they're pretty freaking close, And so a bunch of young guys, and they're in the big games. It's the finals. They're there too. So it's future is bright. But then again, you never know with how these things go.
Yeah, so sort of a
But
couple
yeah,
things on what both of you are saying there in terms of how much the Warriors are paying. If I'm correct, in terms of roster, it's like 150 million, but then they are playing around like $300 million
wow,
in luxury tax. So it's not a small bill, and it
300 million in the luxury tax.
again,
it's
I believe
more than double
I,
of their salary.
there are high
Wow,
penalties for repeater taxes, and this is
wow, and yeah, they've been
for
repeating for a
league
while.
balance.
You know,
Yes,
oh my
and
goodness,
part of it was that the
wow,
owner Joe Lacob, sorry, oh my gosh, the team governor was willing to he's willing to pay in luxury tax even while they were rebuilding the past 2 years.
wow,
And in terms of the Celtics, yes, I believe at the moment they are right under the luxury tax. I believe last year, they've made a couple moves to sort of duck right
man.
under it when they traded Bull to
Oh
the
right,
Magic.
to Denver. Right.
They
No,
got him from the
he
Nuggets,
wasn't
traded
there.
him to
Got him. Yeah,
Orlando. Part of that was to get right under
with
the threshold.
Dozier,
Yeah,
right?
PJ Dozier.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I believe depending on how far if they end up winning the whole thing, they might go right under they might go right over the luxury tax due to roster bonuses. I think Horford and Brown have
Oh,
meaningful ones,
true.
but it'll in terms of
Right.
if they'll go over. They don't have a lot of guys that are gonna have contracts coming up. So, the way they'd go over is like big money extensions. Granted, based off what we've
Mm.
seen, I think like Grant Williams would be eligible for an extension. Peyton Pritchard could
Hmm.
be a guy they want to bring back. But, Brown and Tatum are locked up. Rob is locked up. Smart is locked
Derek
up.
White's locked up.
White. So there's
Yeah.
not really a lot of room to go over at the moment.
Yeah,
True.
one thing that's interesting with the Warriors and us kind of like going, whoa, with the luxury tax. From in 2009 to 2019, the Warriors' value increased by 1,000%. 1,000%. They were bought for
Wow.
450 million, and currently they're valued at around 5 billion. So, I think
Wow.
what Joe Lacob is trying to do is make them a dynasty, make them the Celtics and Lakers of back then, and kind of like for him paying this is an investment. Paying the luxury tax now will maybe allow them to get another ring and cement them in the record books and make them a team that everybody follows for who knows how long, regardless of how good they are.
It's also part of the reason that they made the investment to move to the Chase Center in San Francisco. Even though Oracle Arena was an iconic
Mm-hmm.
building in Oakland, they believe the Chase Center will be, a great foundational piece for the organization for years to come. So, unless either of you have anything more to say about Andrew Wiggins, I think we'll move on to our last segment right after this break. So coming back from the break, we're actually going to do a little bit of Andrew Wiggins trivia, some career highs. So would you like to introduce
Ooh.
us more to that, Duncan?
Yeah, he's got that dog in him stats coming right up. We're gonna go back and forth. I think Garrett's up 3-2, so Peter will guess first. What we'll do is we'll each guess one. Like Peter will go, then Garrett will go, then whoever's closest will win. Then next round Garrett will go, Peter will go, etc., etc. So these are career highs in the playoffs and the regular season.
Okay, rat.
Yeah, so we're going for both. So Peter, would you like to guess your Wiggins career high in points?
Yeah, so I think he had some big nights there in Minnesota. I'm trying to think on if he scored 50. I'm gonna go with no, but I'm gonna go close. I'm gonna go that he had a 44-point outburst.
Okay.
Now, Duncan, am I guessing points right now as well until we get it, or
you're guessing points, and then we'll see who's closer?
Okay, 44. I'm gonna go 43.
43.
Price is right.
It was 47. So yeah, he scored 47 in 2016.
Damn.
Yeah, against your LA Lakers. So
wow.
You're talking to the two green teamers in the pod, Duncan.
So ties it right back up. It's 3-3. Garrett, you get the honor of guessing Wiggins' rebounds, which should be an easy one.
I think it was a career high rebounds 18 this finals, right? Or am I tripping? Or did you get like a 21? Been a busy week for me, gang. I'm gonna go 8.
18. Okay.
I'm gonna go 18.
Peter, you have a guess?
Yeah, so I think it's 18. But so all right, if I guessed 18, am I allowed to have the same guess? And would it mean no one would get the point?
I think that's what we'll do.
Okay.
It kind of seems like cheating, because what if a guy has the lead and he just guessed the same, so there's no way he can get it?
Points, yeah. I would have been doing that all day, right?
We can't guess the same then. We definitely can't.
Yeah, you can't guess
all right, I'm going to go 17.
17?
Damn.
So you're right. It was this finals. It was game 4, and he had 16 rebounds. So I think that means that goes to Peter.
Damn.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So Peter's up 4-3. That's how math works. Yeah, 4-3 Peter, right?
Wow.
And
wow. Blowing it like the fourth quarter Celtics right now.
Yeah. So Peter, you get to guess first for assists. What is Andrew Wiggins' career high in
Not
assists?
trying to think too much. Going with 9.
9. All right, Garrett.
I'll go right on the money too. I was going to go 7.
7. Going the unders. Not believing Wiggins. It was 11.
That was my other guess.
We're up. Up 5-3. So why am I so bad at keeping score? I'm going between tabs. Yeah. So you guys got the score 5-3. All right. So Garrett. Actually, Wiggins, he had those 11 assists against Toronto in 2020. So a little more recent than that points high.
Okay.
So we got 3 more stats to go through. Blocks. Wiggins, career high blocks. Garrett, what you think?
I'm gonna go 5.
5. Peter, what you got?
Yeah, it's definitely higher than 5, so I'm gonna go 6.
6? It was 5, right on the money. 5-4.
It's about time.
Yeah. All right, Peter. Here we go.
Definitely
Steals. 5-4 to either extend your lead or bring it to a game 7 type.
I'm going back with 6.
You're going to 6 with steals, Garrett. What you got?
I'll go 5. 5 treated me well.
In 2016, Andrew Wiggins had 6 steals.
God damn.
Against the Golden State Warriors.
I feel like you knew that straight out, Pete.
6 steals sounds right.
All right,
there you go.
Well played. To go against the over-under bettors and the spread bettors, we'll see who can get the turnovers, kind of the sad stat here. So he posted this stat, this high in turnovers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. So Garrett, you can do us the honor.
Oh, shit. Excuse me.
Sugar.
Sugar. I don't know why the number 7's calling out to me.
All right, Peter?
Well, you know how you said you did 8 times? I'm going 8. Lock it in.
It was 6. Yeah, so brings the total to 6-5. Still Peter, I believe, right? Is that how math works? There we go. Damn. Well, that was a fun little gauntlet.
I'll lose by one.
The most recent being this year against the Heat. He posted 6. So, Wiggins, he's got some high turnovers, but he's never reached. I feel like 6 is like, oh, okay, yeah, I got 6 turnovers. Anything more is like, wow, that's a lot of turnovers.
Yeah.
So I'll give him that.
Well, so Wiggins was the number 1 pick of his draft. So we're going to transition to who might be the number 1 pick of this year's draft. That's just a little primer. I feel like we've talked a lot about the finals and get a little monotonous. And in theory, this is more important than the finals to a degree. It matters to more teams. And these guys could win a lot of finals potentially. So just a little recap of sort of the top 3 picks in terms of who has them and who are the who we think will go in those top 3 slots. So number 1 pick is the Orlando Magic. I don't believe they've had the first pick since 2004, which I believe is Dwight Howard. Number 2 pick is by the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've had a lot of high picks in their history. Some of the ones.
And they'll have a lot more.
Potentially. Some of the notable ones being Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden in that sort of top of the draft. And the Houston Rockets with the 3rd pick. Last year they took Jalen Green, number 2 overall. I believe he's number 2.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that's sort of the start of their rebuild. And so the 3 guys we're going to talk about real quickly. Chet Holmgren, 7-foot forward/center out of Gonzaga. And then Paolo Banchero, I believe he's around like 6'10", forward out of Duke. And Jabari Smith Jr., I believe he's also around like 6'10", forward out of Auburn University. Just going down with what I think could be the case. Looking at Orlando, if you like what you have with your young core right now of Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, and Wendell Carter Jr., do you take the guy that you don't want to regret not taking because of how special the talent is, and that's Chet Holmgren? Chet is a guy who can project to be everywhere over the court, blocking shots, post move, hitting threes, a little bit of ball handling. It's really like a unicorn type player in the mold of Porzingis, Embiid, although he's probably more along the forward side of it. He's skinny, so people are going to say he's Kevin Durant. But
he's strong though. I saw some highlight reels of him in Gonzaga. Everyone says, "Oh, he's skinny, therefore he won't be able to guard people." He was locking down some big guys in the tournament. Like the man's got great footwork, and although being skinny, he's how tall is he?
He's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
He's got that height.
I can't imagine being 7 feet tall, man. Like, I can't imagine being like 6'10". I hit my head in enough door frames at 6'5" as is. Like, the world is simply not designed for people over that height, man. It's crazy.
I would not know. I sit at a cool 6'1" on a good day. And so really the other guy who could be taken by the Magic, well, there are 2 other guys, but this is the other guy they've more been linked to, has been Jabari Smith, as he projects to be more of a dominant scorer, potentially number 1 scorer on a team. And I don't think they have that guy at the moment with Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Wendell Carter Jr., Cole Anthony. Not really number 1 scorer types, and certainly not in that big forward frame that a lot of big scorers have. The 3rd guy, Paolo Banchero, if they drafted him, he'd be a guy that could plug into the lineup sort of immediately, and he'll make that impact in all facets of the game in terms of playmaking, finishing, shooting, and rebounding, defense. So it's sort of interesting, like the way you talk about it. Kind of seems like Paolo Banchero, then why wouldn't he be the first pick if he projects to be a guy who can make the immediate impact? And if you're a losing team, right, you want to put people in the seats and you want to win games. So why wouldn't you take, if he's the best at the moment, why wouldn't you want him? Well,
because if he's the
just last point here. It just depends on the thought process you have. Do you go with the best guy available and figure out the rest later? Or do you pick a guy a little more due to fit? It's a little more unique here because they're all sort of forward types. But there's got a lot of preference that these teams are going to have. Just for me, just gonna put this out there. See if you guys have any thoughts on any of these three guys or the teams. But if I'm Orlando, I'd probably take Chet Holmgren just because he projects to be that special talent that you would regret passing up on later. Really, all three I think are going to be great players and impact guys, and yeah, you can certainly salivate at all the talent they have at the forward position. But I think Chet could be a guy that you look down, you're like, why didn't I? Why didn't we take him? Why are we overthinking this?
Yeah, and I think I'm right there with you because you're saying about like, why don't we take Paolo first pick overall? He's a complete player now, and like he could really help us win now. I think a big part of the reason you know you swing for the fences is so you can swing for the fences. You don't draft for now ever. It's like unless you're Golden State and you're like, hey man, we just need a player. Now you can trade the pick for someone else for that would make your team better in the short term. You draft, and especially if you're sitting at the top of the lottery, you draft for the future for who these guys can be. And we've talked about this in the podcast before. It's you draft on potential. And if they work out, they work out. But they're unicorns for a reason. Like unicorns, they're extinct. So if you can get that, it's special.
Extinct. Like they existed before.
National animal of Scotland, by the way. So there's who's to say? But yeah, I'm right there with you. I think you go Chet because what if it's the alert. It's like, and if you think about what will really get people in the seats, not just in the short term, but for years to come, is if a player like Chet hits, fills out the frame, could be more than you could be seriously special, especially given. It's kind of a moot point with the guard heavy lineup that they have over in Orlando that they need a forward because all top guys are all forwards. But I don't feel like Orlando's ready to compete now to merit the Paolo pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's Chet. I agree.
I feel like Orlando could take any three of these guys. However, if I'm the players, I think Paolo is the best fit now for Orlando because I think he could go in and help bring them up because you're rebuilding, but you just got to start building at some point and start getting better. And Chet may be the best player available, but like I don't think he'll be the best player in Orlando. Kristaps is a unicorn, and he's not like we're not talking about him right now. He was traded away from the Mavs, and they got better without him, regardless of the fact that they didn't really have a center to replace him. So it's really like what situation is the best for the players that will make them best in the long term, I think. However, does that mean that the Magic should not take Chet? I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. And interesting little thing. I was just kind of looking at their stats for this season in college, and I didn't really realize this. Like, Jabari can shoot. He's 42% from three.
Very legit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. However, he only has 43% field goal percentage, like total. Whereas, like, Chet, he shoots 39 from three, but he's got a 60% field goal percentage. So he's more, I feel like more of a balanced scorer since he doesn't have, like, that natural, like, weight where he, like, just pushes his opponents out of the way. He's kind of better at he takes better shots and he makes his shots versus, like, I feel like Jabari and Paolo are more talented, but they don't have as unique like a skill set as Chet, So it's very interesting. I think if Chet falls to, I mean, he's not going to fall to Houston, but I'd be interested with Chet on OKC.
Yeah.
With a team that already kind of has some scorers, they've got Giddey there who can kind of.
Our boy.
It wouldn't just be Chet's show. I think he'd have more success in OKC, although Orlando should probably pick him. So it's interesting. But then we've seen in the past, whenever a player falls, they usually wind up being good. So, like, Tatum was projected to go second, right? He fell to third. And was he not projected to go second?
No, it was consensus. Markelle Fultz was the top.
Consensus Fultz,
and then the Lakers
Lonzo.
did not veil their interest in Lonzo Ball.
And then Josh Jackson was talked for three, right?
It was between Tatum and Jackson, sort of.
I guess now with like all the talk about like Tatum, Kobe, and the Lakers, it seems like he was destined for that number 2
Yeah, it
pick
wasn't
or
at the time
whatever.
though. Yeah, very interesting though. How
Mm-hmm.
after the fact, I've seen people do like the mock-ups of Tatum and Lakers jersey, and I'm just like, what are we doing? Come on, like,
Yeah.
you have nothing else
Yeah.
to do this time.
Yeah. And it'll always be like, oh yeah, when we give them THT and some picks for Tatum, it's like, please,
It's always THT and garbage.
always, always. Oh my
I
god.
I I I,
But
I do like what you were talking about though, that versatility for Oklahoma if they were able to get Chet, because I think between Giddy, SGA, and Chet, you have a lot of size and versatility, and it's
hmm
intriguing. And I don't know, Chet's kind of like a weird player. OKC's kind of a weird team. I'm like, let's just get nuts. Why not?
Yeah, I think he'd fit pretty well there. Do you think if you're OKC, you take the chance, you pay to trade up to make sure you get what you want, or you just hope that your guy doesn't get taken?
Well, for one, I think OKC can pay to trade up. They have assets that, well, they're frankly going to be losing very, very soon because they just don't have enough roster spots for all the first round picks they'll have in the oncoming future. But I say while they can, I feel like Chet really is kind of an idyllic pick for OKC. Especially because we all know if he is going to be special and be this non-extinct unicorn, he needs to fill in his frame and then work into becoming legit 7-footer that can dominate. And stuff like that takes time. And OKC has time and resources. It's I think he fits whatever timeline they have with when all their real like money picks are going to start rolling in. I don't know. I think OKC is the best place for him to land, especially if Orlando decides, hey man, maybe what we need right now is a alpha in Jabari to take, and then they take him, and then he is that dude. Run a heliocentric offense around him, and like put bums and seats in Orlando. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I think if I'm Chet, I probably want to be going to. Actually, I don't know what I'd want to be doing if I'm Chet. I can't fathom
Less
what's
sales
going through his
tax
head
in
right now.
Florida, if that matters.
That's true. That's true. No shade to Oklahoma, but I think I could rather be in Florida. But I think if I'm OKC though, I'd definitely looking at home green for pick 2.
Yeah.
If it
What's
falls.
interesting though, because like I think going back to that dog stat, I think Paolo has the most dog in him.
I would agree.
Just from watching the tournament, like he wasn't always like the best, didn't always have the best stats, but somehow like he kind of willed his team to make those big shots when the pressure was on. So I'm interested, like if there's like a clutch stat in college that you can look at. I feel like Paolo would be pretty high in that.
Well, what would you say his dog number is if you had to pin it down to
I'd give him a solid 85.
Solid 85 dog.
Yeah.
Rad. Oh yeah, I see the vision.
And Chet, unfortunately, he's got like a 76 dog because like he just in the tournament. I mean, that's my only like basis for this. It was just like not much dog there.
Oh no, I think you're sleeping on Chet's dog rating, I will say. And
Yeah,
also with Paolo, he had arguably the most talented team in the nation. Ton of other water guys.
That's
So
true.
it'll be really interesting to see how it shakes out. These guys will really be linked together for the rest of their career, and we might be looking down the line. Oh, maybe they should have gone with this guy. Maybe this team should have gone with that guy.
One thing we haven't mentioned is the Jalen Suggs Chet Holmgren connection. I don't know if you guys are aware of all this, but they were on this. They're both from Minneapolis. They're on the same AAU teams. Chet went to Gonzaga partially because Jalen went there, right? Was he there? Yeah, he was there. And like
so.
they've said multiple times like how well they played together in high school. They played together in the same high school team. I think they won the state championship. And they've said before they want to play together again. And it's something there that could make up like chemistry that already exists can make up for like talent differences there.
True.
And so the Magic might already be like, yeah, we're gonna try to get Chet and just do that. I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens on the draft.
I almost hesitate to say it, but I feel like if I'm any one of these teams, I'm going to be happy with whatever I get because it seems like for the kind of discussions we typically hear about drafts where it's like, oh yeah, no, Markelle Fultz is a consensus number 1 pick. It's like where there's like a clear hierarchy. Like it really reminds me of I want to say last year's draft where it's, hey man, like any top 4 team in last year's draft is really happy with who they got between Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley, between even the Rockets. The Rockets like Jalen Green too. You know, it's
Cade,
like
don't forget about Cade.
it's a good problem named Cade.
Number 1 pick of the
obviously,
draft.
number 1 pick of the draft. Going right back up in order there, but like, yeah, I feel like if I'm any of these top 3 teams, I'm just happy to be here. You know, like they're gonna get a good player regardless. But then again, I brought up earlier about how, you know, you do draft for potential. There's an argument to draft for potential, right? You could draft a Jabari Parker. You know, it's like, who knows? It's potential's potential for a reason. You know, it's what could be. Doesn't mean what is what is. So who knows? You know, we talk about Paolo maybe dropping, and why not Paolo for pick 1? He very well could be the best player of in the draft. Same could be said for Jabari. It's, man, draft's a crapshoot, dude. I don't know.
It's just a little precursor. I mean, draft is 9 days away, so that means when we come at you next, we'll probably be recapping the whatever happened in Game 6 and or 7. Who knows if Game 7 will happen of the NBA Finals, and we'll be right at the beginning of, well, I guess at the tail end of draft preparation. So we'll be coming to you next week with that, unless well, actually, no, my bad. Not to cut it off. No, we gotta read last week's Q&A and poll.
Of course, the housekeeping.
Yeah, we can't miss it. Move these at the end of the episode, and I don't want to forget. So starting off with the Q&A, I guess this was in reaction to Game 2. Would you have ejected Draymond Green? Why or why not? Matt Correa said, I would have ejected Draymond like 8 times. I would have given him the Sedukupal technical.
Oh, the 16th?
Oh, I suppose so, yeah. I'm a certified Draymond unenjoyer.
Oh.
A very fair take.
Yeah.
And then the poll.
Thank you, Matt.
So again, this is through 2 games, so let this be in your mind when you're thinking about the answers. Who has been the biggest finals disappointment so far? The voters voted Klay Thompson as the biggest disappointment through 2 games. You could probably make the argument that he still has been, even though I think he's played very well coming back from it. You could say Jayson Tatum, maybe the biggest finals disappointment so far.
You could now.
He got a vote as well in this, so even through 2 games, the voters knew, I suppose. Yeah. So
yeah, I think Klay did have a lot of negative press coming at him, panning him at the beginning of this finals matchup because, well, it spoke for itself, especially through 3 games. I remember like Klay just something did not look right for him, and then what did he like? He bathed in the Bay of San Fran to like spiritually get himself right. Whatever it is, it's working for him.
Yeah,
because I remember there's some like serious woof moments. We're not talking like dog stat woof. When like in Game 3, they had him in like late in the 4th quarter just to try and get stuff going. And he was like bricking threes, and it's like, oh, geez, Klay.
I feel like he's been that guy like the last couple of games for them.
Oh, he definitely has. Oh, 100%. Right there with you, Dunk.
Yeah, he's been very good. See if he can keep it up in Game 6 of the finals. Game 6 of the finals
is going
Klay. To, yeah, he said he's never been more excited to go to Boston. So that is on Thursday, June 16th. That game will be at 9 p.m. If there is a Game 7, that will be on Sunday. So watch out for those games, and then we should be coming at you again next week with finals recap, draft prep, and then we'll be starting the off season. Some exciting stuff I'm sure we'll be up to then. So for now, thank you for tuning in to episode 13, and we'll catch you next time.